Yeah, so in last lecture, we have seen this waterfall model. So, what are the problems that are with this waterfall model is that it expects complete and accurate requirements early in the software development process. See, this waterfall model is basically following this all SDLC phases, but the problems that are is first is that it expects that complete and accurate requirements early in the software development process. All the requirements should be there beforehand, which is not a realistic scenario in a real time environment. Then another one is the working software. So this working software is not available in this waterfall model. uh, you can say it is not available till very late in the software development cycle, because and so due to that reason you can say there is some delay in your error discovery. Okay. Then another one is the risk. There is no facility for the assessment of risk. So you can say the risk factor is very high in this model, and that is the reason we can say that this model is not suitable for more significant, or you can say the complex project. All right. Then also the testing is done at a later stage here in this waterfall model, so it does not allow identifying the challenges, or you can say the risk in the earlier phases. So you can say that the risk reduction strategy is very difficult to prepare in case of this waterfall model. And due to that reason you can say the late delivery of your software product, or maybe the increase in the cost in the overall software development process, or due to some reason if your software is going to fail. So all those failure reason that you cannot identify in this waterfall model, there is no facility of this kind of risk assessment. So another one thing is the change, because this model is not suitable for accommodating the change in the requirements, or any kind of change during the development process. Because any kind of change in requirement is there, then this model will not going to accept that. Say for example, if the application is now, or your software is now shifted to the coding phase. Okay, so and there is some change or new requirement that comes from the user side, then it becomes very tough to go back and change it. So because there is no facility of backtracking in this waterfall model. Okay, so these are the problems, you can say some kind of problem with waterfall model, and that is the reason you can say that the sequential nature of this waterfall model is not realistic in today's world. Now the another thing is that so in which type of scenarios you can use this waterfall model. So we know that in this waterfall model we have to first of all define all the requirements before we are going to design, and before design anything we have to just code everything. Okay, so after designing we have to code. So the main reason that when we can use this waterfall model is when we have the requirements that are very clearly understood, and that is not going to change, that is going to remain stable in your whole SDLC lifecycle. In that scenario you can use this waterfall model. Apart from that, this model can be used in an organization, or in that scenario that has an experience in developing a particular kind of software, or you can say those who wants to develop a similar kind of software uh, using the existing software but with some little bit enhancement in it. Okay, so you can say that this model is good to use when you have this kind of experience, and you have the experience of the tools and technologies that you are going to use in your particular model, but you have the hands-on experience using those tools and technology. In that scenario you can use you can go with this waterfall model, and where the requirements are not changing. Clear? So now going with the incremental process model. All right. what is this incremental process model? So as you can see here, this incremental model is a process of software development where all requirements are specified initially. Okay, so in this model, you have to specify all these requirements initially, and then these requirements are divided into multiple standalone modules, or you can say cycle of the software development process. Then you can say that in this particular incremental process model, each module goes through the requirement analysis, design, implementation, testing, all those SDLC phases. But here, first of all, you have all those requirements, and then those requirements are divided into this multiple cycles, and then each cycle is going to repeat that SDLC all phases. Okay, so every subsequent this release, or you can say that every subsequent this cycle is going to release some product, or you can say some functionality that is going to be added in the previous functionality. Okay, if you say that this increment one or this release one has given some product or some functionality to the user, which is developed in this particular phase, and that is going to be delivered at the end of this increment one, at the end of this cycle one. And whatever the functionality that is here, that is going to be added, or you can say the add-on to this particular delivery of increment one or the cycle one. So this whole kind of process continues until the complete system is achieved. So you can say that these are the various phases of this incremental model. The first one is the requirement analysis. As we know that in this particular phase of requirement analysis, but in this incremental model, in this particular phase of this incremental model, the product analysis expertise identifies the requirements. Okay, and the system functional requirements are understood by the different requirement analysis team, and then to develop the software under this particular model, under using this particular model, this phase you can say is having some crucial role, because whatever the requirement that you have that you have given this particular cycle, in this particular cycle, on the basis of that requirement only you are going to develop, or you are going to develop that particular software or particular functionality in that particular phase. Then the next phase in each cycle is the design. In that, we are going to design the system functionality, or you can say the software functionality, which we are going to deliver in that particular increment or in that particular design, in that particular cycle. Then the next step is of code, or you can say implementation or the development phase. So here we are actually going to code our functionalities. Next is the testing, that we know that in that phase we are going to check the performance of each existing function, or whatever we are going to deliver in that particular cycle, or we are going to test the additional functionality, or whatever the thing, or whatever the you can say the feedback which you have received from the previous cycle from your customer, that you have overcome, or whatever the error that you have overcome, that is also you are going to check in the next phase, and that is you are going to deliver in your current cycle. Are you getting me? Okay. So we can say that this incremental model combines the elements of your linear sequential model with the iterative philosophy, because as you can see here that we are going to follow this SDLC phases, we are going to follow this linear sequential functionality only, but in a repetitive manner, in an iterative manner. Okay, so each linear sequence, you can say, is produced as a deliverable, as a increment, or you can say the release of your software, because we are going to deliver uh, functionality, any functionality at the end of each increment, at the end of this each cycle. For example, you can say that in word processing software, which is going to be developed using this particular incremental paradigm. Okay, so it may possible that first of all we are going to deliver the basic functionalities like file management, editing functionalities. Okay, all those functionalities we are going to deliver in a first cycle, in a first increment. After that, more additional functionalities, more sophisticated functionalities, or more additional functionality like editing or document production capabilities, that we are going to deliver in this second cycle, in this second incremental. Okay, second iteration. Then other than that, any additional functionalities are there, like page layout capabilities or anything that we are going to develop or we are going to deliver in the third increment, in the third release. So in each and every release we are going to deliver some functionality to our customer. Okay, so in that scenario this incremental model is used. So we can say that whenever we are going to use this incremental model, the first increment or the first release is our core product. That is, the basic requirements are addressed in that core product, but many supplementary features, or you can say the additional features, that remains undelivered. Okay, so this core product is used by the customer only. They review it, they go through it, okay, they use it, and after that they give us feedback on that. So as a result of those feedback or evaluation, a plan is developed for the next increment. And you can say the developers are going to work on it along with that new functionalities. So this plan addresses the modification of your core product or to better meet the needs or the requirements from your customer, and that is going to be the delivery of your additional requirements or additional features or the customer's feedback in this subsequential all the remaining deliveries or all the remaining increments. So this whole kind of process is going to be repeated in each and every increment, in each and every release, until your whole complete product, your whole software is produced. So we can say that this incremental model, incremental process model is iterative in nature. Are you getting me how this incremental process model is working? Yeah. So this basically this incremental model focuses on the delivery of an operational product. Okay, with each increment. And you can say that early increments are stripped down versions of your final product, but you can say that they also provide capability that serves the user, that serves the user requirement, and it also provide a platform for evaluation by the user, because based on those early deliveries the customers are going to give you the feedback and or whatever the errors are there, bugs are there, and that is you are going to overcome, or you are going to deliver the new requirements which come from the user in the next phases or the next cycles. Then useful when staffing is available. So this particular incremental product is useful when the staffing is unavailable. Why so? Because it is useful when the staffing is available for a complete implementation, okay, by the business deadline that has been established for the project, because in each increments can be implemented with fewer people. We need some people for each increment, and if the core product is well received, then additional staff is going to be added to implement the next requirement. So in addition, you can say that the increments can be planned to manage the technical risk, because if we are delivering some releases, or if we are going to deliver some functionalities to the user, we can know that what type of risk uh, can be come from the user side, and we are going to handle it, and we can have better approach to handle those kind of technical risks. Like, so we can say that in each and every release we are going to deliver some partial functionalities to our users, to our customers. So yes, when we can use this incremental model, or what are the scenarios that are good to use for this incremental model? The first one is when the customer demands a quick release of the product. When the customer wants some feature, it may possible that the customer don't want the whole product, whole software in one go, but we can deliver them the product in the as a form of partial functionalities. So in that scenario, this model is good to use. It is not like that waterfall model that customer receive that whole software at the end of your development process only, but in this, in each, after each cycle, we are going to deliver then some limited functionalities or some functionalities, so that at the last cycle, at the end of that last cycle, that complete software with all functionalities, all non-functional, functional and non-functional quality software is there with the customer. So uh, it is good to use this incremental product when customer demands a quick release of your product. Then here, the delivery of functionality, you can say, is done in multiple cycles depending upon the priorities of requirement. Whatever the requirement is important, is at the highest priority, that you have to deliver to your customer first. Okay, so in that case, you can serve the customer's requirement in a more good way than that of the waterfall model, because by serving those requirements, those priority requirements, highest priority requirements early, you can say that it will also increase your uh, you can say that it will just give you more customer, okay, because in that scenario the customer will will be more satisfied. And yes, the third one is to use this incremental product, incremental model is when the lengthy development schedule is there. Okay, when your project is long, then in that scenario, you can say that you need some lengthy development schedule, and this incremental product model is good to use. So you can say that with this use of this incremental product, you are going to identify, you can identify the risk, you can identify the errors, bugs, which can come from the customer side, and it is easy to debug and test as compared to that waterfall model. And you can say it is more flexible. And the risk assessment is also done here, which is not there with that waterfall model. And the disadvantages we can say with this incremental model is that we need some good planning, because what we are going to do is we are having those requirements for the software, and we are going to divide those requirements into different cycles, okay, into different increments. So we need some good planning, that what requirements should be first deliver, and what are the requirements that have the highest priority. Okay, so we need some good planning to deliver those requirements in a systematic manner. And the another one is the cost is also high, because we need some planning, or you can say some expertise, who can do all those, who can manage all these things. So for that, uh, we need high cost in this. But we can say the advantage is that the client is getting some important functionality at an early stage, okay, and not like with that waterfall model. Understood?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, why cost is high?
Cost is high because we need some planning, okay, because in this we are the thing is that we should have all those requirements, and when those requirements are going to be divided in this particular cycles, in particular in different increments, and those requirements as a part of functionalities are going to be delivered at the end, at the completion of that particular cycle. So to do all these things, we need some planning, okay, we need some expertise who can manage all those things. And for that we need uh, a high cost, because it is obvious that we require some human power also, some developer for to in each cycle of this phase. So that's why the cost is also high in this particular model. Got it?
Means one or two persons.
Sorry?
मैम प्लानिंग के लिए ज्यादा लोग नहीं चाहिए होंगे ना?
प्लानिंग के लिए नहीं, पर मैंने बोला ना कि इसके लिए भी, क्योंकि हर एक साइकिल में कुछ ना कुछ लोग है काम, कुछ ना कुछ लोग चाहिए टू कंप्लीट दैट साइकिल, ओके, बिकॉज सी इन फर्स्ट साइकिल we need some to analyze, design, code, test, okay. So we need those developers or testers, QA team for all those phases. So for that also we need. Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. पता चला? मतलब
Ma'am.
see the हर एक phase में we need developers also. In each cycle we need the human power, developers, QA team, then business analyst, okay, and that increases our human power or the developers to complete that cycle. Understand? And also in this incremental model, what we are going to do is whatever the bugs are there, whatever the new requirements are there, that is going to be overcome in this particular second cycle. So the human power, which the resource that we require in this incremental process model, is also uh, that is in large, okay, in large number. And that's why you can say the cost is also increased, because developers zyada hai, so we have to pay. That means the more resources are used by this particular incremental model, and that's why the cost is also going to be high.
Ma'am, but you said that the advantage is, ma'am, we apply this incremental model when there is less staff is available.
Less staff is available.
मैम वी यूज इंक्रीमेंटल मॉडल व्हेन लेस स्टाफ इज अवेलेबल, ऐसा शायद से लिखा था पीपीटी पे लास्ट टू लास्ट स्लाइड.
Useful when staffing is unavailable for complete implementation.
Yes ma'am. Ma'am, and you are saying that we will require high मतलब ज्यादा हमको ह्यूमन रिसोर्स चाहिए होगा, तो दे आर कॉन्ट्राडिक्टरी मैम.
No, this particular line is not applicable in this particular scenario.
Okay ma'am.
Okay, this point is not there. So now the next model is the prototyping model. So yeah, as the name suggests of this prototyping model, in this we require that before we are going to develop the whole software, the actual software, a working prototype should be developed. A working prototype should be built in this particular prototyping model, and it is nothing but one kind of, you can say, uh, a one kind of implementation of your system, that how your system is going to work in reality, in actuality, so that user can have some idea by that prototype whatever we are going to build. So before carrying the actual development of your software, you have to build a prototype in this particular prototyping model. And it works the same as the waterfall model only, but in the requirement analysis phase it works in a cyclic manner. Here, as you can see, it works according to this waterfall model only, but in requirement analysis phase it is going to work in a cyclic manner. Okay, so as you can see here, in this cyclic phase we need continuous customer support in finalizing requirements. See, first of all, it starts with the requirement gathering, then developer and customer meet and define the overall objectives of your software, like identification of whatever the requirements that you have to deliver, and your software is going to deliver, and that all things you have to define first. After that, a quick design phase is there. Now, what is that? So that particular quick design focuses on a representation of those aspects of the software that will be visible to the customer. Okay, like it leads to the construction of a prototype. So here you can say that after you have just gathered the requirement and you have created one design, after that you have to build a prototype, a small, you can say, a working prototype, so that the customer can have idea what your system is going to do, what your system is going to deliver, and how it is going to work. So after that, your prototype is going to be evaluated by the customer, and it is going to be, as you can see here, that your prototype is going to be evaluated by the customer, and it used to define the requirements for the software that is to be developed. And this thing is also helpful to finalize the requirement. Okay, so whenever you have built a prototype, first of all it needs to be evaluated from the customer. If the customer have some feedback or whatever the changes they want to apply, they can inform, and those changes are going to be incorporated, those suggestions or feedbacks are going to be incorporated Again, we are going to make one design. After that, using those new changes or new feedbacks, new suggestions, we are going to build a prototype on the basis of those particular thing, and then we are going to again make it evaluated from the customer, and this thing goes on until your requirements are finalized. Hello, is my am I audible? Yeah, sorry for the inconvenience. Okay, yeah, is my screen visible to you? Okay, yeah. So this iteration goes on until your requirements are finalized, because this thing is going to help to satisfy your customer, the need of your customer. Okay, and at the same time it is also helpful for the developer to better understand what your customer needs and what needs to be done in your you can say in your final product, in your final software. So this prototype, you can say, is uh, very important for your actual system, and it is possible that it is just having some limited functionality or limited functional, not functionality, but the capabilities are very limited, or you can say it is not with that good performance, or with low reliability, and it is of not good quality, and the performance is also not good as compared to the actual software. But the main just aim of this prototype is just to provide the basic structure to the customer, so that the customer can have idea about your product, that your product would be something like this, and it is not, the prototype is not going to focus on your internal structure. The You can say the client will only have this general view of what is to be expected from your software product. So in that this particular prototyping model, you just have to first develop a working prototype of your software instead of developing your whole software. So you can say that this in this particular prototyping model, this prototype, working prototype, is useful for requirement gathering and for finalizing those requirements, and it is never going to be delivered as your final product. Okay, and in good big companies, you can say it is never going to be delivered, but sometimes you can say due to some time crunch, or due to some reasons, it may possible that this prototype, uh, there is some modification and this prototype is going to be delivered as a final product. uh, but that should not be happen, because which is not a good thing, and that should never happen. So basically you can say this prototype is uh, going to be useful to refine your requirements, to finalize your requirements, and it is also useful to prepare your final SRS document. So ideally, this prototype serves as a mechanism for identifying these requirements, and once this prototype is accepted from the user side, from your requirements are finalized, then you can say your final system is going to be developed using this particular phase. Okay, like whatever our SDLC phases are there, once your requirement is finalized, done, then your software is going to be developed using this sequential order waterfall model. So that's how this prototype model is going to be work. Now, there are some questions on this prototype model. The first is that is prototype is our final product? So yes, we know that it is not going to be our final product, because this prototype code is discarded after the requirements are finalized. Okay, once the prototype has served its purpose of gathering the requirements, of finalizing the requirements, the prototype code should be discarded, and it should never be delivered as our final product, because we know that the prototype is not of that good quality, and it is not having that efficient performance. Okay, so it should not be delivered as your final product. So that what are the benefits of this developing a prototype? So we can say that there are some benefits of developing this prototype, because it will help us to better collect requirements from the customers. Okay, and it also helps us to gather some kind of experience of developing the final system, because once we develop this prototype, so we can say that we have now experience, we have the idea to develop how to develop your final system, because we know that to this prototype, the main purpose of this prototype is that to make it evaluated and make it finalized from the customer side. Until it is not finalized, until all the requirements are not finalized, we are going to iterate in this particular cycle only, that we design, we build that particular prototype from that particular design, then we evaluate it, then we make it evaluated from the customer, then we receive some suggestions, feedback, we have worked on it, again we are going to give them that particular refined prototype. So this whole cycle is continue until we have received the final requirement. So we can say that the main benefit of that prototype is that we are going to have the experience that how your final product should be, and it will just help to finalize those requirements, better finalize those requirements from the customer. Now the third one is, does this prototype development incur extra cost? So we can say that yes, certainly yes, because developing this prototype has some specific cost amount, and if we have not gathered this requirement using this prototype model, then we can say that the cost will not incur. Okay, but prototype will increase our cost, uh, because we have gathered these requirements with this continuous customer feedback and evaluation. So these requirements, we know that now these requirements are stable, and that would be accepted by the customer when we deliver our software with this functionality to the user at the completion of this SDLC lifecycle. And that is why we are not afraid that our software might get completely rejected when we deliver it. So basically we can say that this cost is there to develop this particular prototype using this prototyping model, but you can say that overall cost comes down. Okay, overall cost comes down. Why? Because you can say that in maintenance, or as well as you can say that case of some bugs or defects, or you can say some new requirements, whenever it is coming from in any other model, whenever it is coming from the from the user side. Okay, but in this particular model, all the requirements are finalized. Okay, because we have used this prototype thing, so we have already finalized all those requirements. So and whatever the thing, you can say that you have missed some functionalities to be or the requirements, or you have delivered in, or you have implemented in a wrong way. So in all those scenarios, to correct those changes, you require some cost. Okay, if you receive some if you receive some bugs or defects or some functionality, so you have to correct all those changes, and for that you require some cost, and that cost might be high as compared to the cost of your developing your software using this prototyping model. So because if we have developed this prototype with the help of customer, then there are less chances, you can say, that your gathered requirement are wrong or erroneous, or the bugs will come or errors will come when you deliver your product at the end of the software development cycle. Okay, so you can say that your cost will be high, but you can say that if you have developed this your software using this prototyping model, it will be less as compared to the overall cost, which will which will come after you apply all this cost of changing requirements, or to correct errors or bugs, etc. Clear? So these are the advantages of using this prototyping model. The first is that it reduces the risk of incorrect user requirement, and that is very well known from this particular model, from this diagram. Then you can say the next is support early product marketing, because why support early product marketing? Yes. The first advantage we can very well understand from the diagram. What about the second? Anyone? Did you understand that this prototyping model? Yeah, exactly. Because we have developed this prototype, so the we have idea that what our software is going to do, and so that we can do early marketing of that particular software, and it will reduce maintenance cost. Why? That I already told you. Why it is said that this particular model is going to reduce cost? It will reduce maintenance cost, yes, because we have resolved all those issues that can occur. That can occur, like all those errors, whatever the errors can come, or the bugs, or the new requirements, all those things we have cleared while we have finalized that prototype. We have finalized all those requirements, right? So after that, the disadvantages. So you can say the error, you can say in this particular advantages. One more point is that errors can also be detected, or we can say the errors can also be identified in a much early stage, okay, of our development, because we can have idea from that prototype. Now, what are the disadvantages? So first of all, unstable or badly implemented prototype often becomes the final product, as we discussed that sometimes due to some time crunch issue, or you can say any other reason, this may possible that your badly or unstable prototype is going to be delivered as your final product, and this should never happen. The next one is it require extensive customer collaboration, because we know that here in this step we require the collaboration with the customer, because we need a continuous suggestion, continuous feedback to refine our requirements, to finalize our requirement from the customer. Then how long the project will last, because this thing is if this thing is going to be work, or going to be like uh, this iteration is going on and on, then you can say that you cannot have idea that when whether this project is how long this project is going to last, until and unless your requirements are finalized. Then the prototyping tools are expensive, and the whole project or the whole prototyping model is depending upon this prototyping tools only, and that's why the that is also, you can say, you can count as a disadvantage. And it is a time consuming process, because until and unless our requirements are finalized, we cannot move ahead to design phase, or to implementation phase, or whatever are there. Okay, so this is all about the prototyping model. So you can say that this prototyping model is good, but you have to, the key point is that the customer and developer must both agree that the prototype is built to serve as a mechanism for defining or for finalizing the requirements only, and it should be then discarded, and the actual software is going should be developed, uh, focusing on the quality and maintainability and reliability. Okay, the prototype model, the prototype which we have developed earlier should be discarded once it has served its purpose. So that's all about this prototyping model. Did you understand? Okay, good. So we'll continue with the next topic in the next lecture.